famous sort of mainstream thing of his career was that firefighter that made fun of him because he was catching babies because the firefighter caught a baby, and he goes to the camera and says, "Oh, I didn't drop it like that bum Aguilar." They give him 2 years, $22 million, nothing guaranteed, which is fine. I'm fine. That means his contract basically means nothing. They could cut him and not be on the hook for anything. They re-signed Deotric Wise, who's their defensive end, 4 years, $22 million, $9 million guaranteed. Now you're well over $100 million in guaranteed money that you've given out these 2 days. Devon Godshaw from the Dolphins, taking a guy away from a division rival is always a good thing. Kind of like the Bengals with Mike Hilton. Anything you can do to take a good guy away from a division competitor and add him to your team, make you better while you're making them worse, is a good thing. But also, I mean, only 2 years, $15 million, but another $9 million guaranteed. They're handing out guaranteed money like it's not real money. For a defensive tackle, 2 defensive ends, 2 tight ends, a cornerback, and a wide receiver. And then another wide receiver, Kendrick Bourne from the 49ers, who's the 49ers' 4th wide receiver when everybody's healthy. 3 years, $15 million, $5 million guaranteed. They're not adding good wide receivers. This is Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne. They're just not. I mean, Kendrick Bourne is behind 4 guys on the 49ers roster when everybody's healthy. He got a lot of playing time because they weren't healthy last year. But when everybody's healthy, Kendrick Bourne is maybe on the field when they go 4 wide or 5 wide. Maybe. I mean, now your wide receiving core looks like Julian Edelman, maybe N'Keal Harry, Nelson Aguilar, and Kendrick Bourne. That's what you're rolling with? Pretty weak, especially when you got Cam Newton throwing in the ball. And then Henry Anderson, who's, I guess, a linebacker. I don't really know much about Henry Anderson. 2 years, $7 million. They also have the 15th round draft pick this year, and they traded for I have Trent Green written down. That's not right. Trent Brown. Trent Green, former quarterback for the Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, Washington football team, Indiana Hoosiers. They traded for Trent Brown, who was the left tackle for the team when they won the Super Bowl, their last Super Bowl. Massive guy, big boy. All this, and they also get four starters that sat out for COVID last year: Pat Chung, Donta Hightower, Marcus Cannon, and Brandon Bolden, who's a running back. So I think the defense is going to be good. I mean, the defense was good defense was okay last year. The problem is their offense is going to stink again because Cam Newton is their quarterback. And even if they take the 15th pick and they take a guy like Mac Jones or Kyle Trask, a guy like Mac Jones and Kyle Trask is not going to immediately make a difference in the NFL year one. Those guys are guys that you're drafted to maybe sit behind a guy for a year and learn the actual NFL system, especially in New England where they still run a very pro-style system. So you have no weapon. I mean, the closest thing you have to a deep threat on offense right now is Nelson Aguilar, who has a dropping problem. You have Cam Newton, who can he throw the ball still? Who knows? You have a questionable running back situation with Tony Michel. James White's an unrestricted free agent. He could sign anywhere he wants. So you have Bolden, and you have Rex Burkhead, and you have Cam Newton. That's your running attack. Passing the ball, you have 2 really, really good tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. But then besides that, you have N'Keal Harry, you have Julian Edelman, and you have Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne. That doesn't scare anybody, especially in a division where the Dolphins have a really good defense and the Bills have really good cornerbacks and can play good defense. That's not going to get them to the playoffs. They can spend all the money they want on these guys and make these big signings. It doesn't matter because Cam Newton is their quarterback. Cam Newton was so bad last year, and they got so much praise for, oh my God, I can't believe 31 teams passed on Cam Newton. I can't believe they let the Patriots get Cam Newton. 8 touchdowns and 15 interceptions last year is what Cam Newton finished with. He was awful. Awful. He had 1 good game on national television against the Seahawks. A Seahawks defense which ended up being bottom 10 defense in the NFL last year. And people were praising, they're like, oh my gosh, Cam Newton MVP, revenge tour. He stinks. The kid that was talking trash to Cam Newton in that camp a couple weeks ago, he was right. He stinks. He should be a free agent. I don't know why the Patriots continue to give him money. That's my Patriots rant. I think the Patriots go 7-9, 8-8 again this year. They're not making the playoffs. They're not a contender. The Pittsburgh Steelers are having an awful offseason. I love it. Everybody should love it. That franchise deserves nothing. That franchise full of cheap shots and scumbags and rapists and criminals. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Run by the Irish Mafia as well. And St. Patrick's Day theme. The Roonies are part of the Mafia. Not only did they effectively waste the primes of Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown by not even making a Super Bowl, they continue to pay Ben Roethlisberger to play quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger, towards the end of the season, may have been worse than Cam Newton. After that Bills game, he fell off a cliff. He couldn't throw the ball. He lost to Ryan Finley and the Bengals on Monday Night Football. If you know football and if you know the Bengals, you know that losing to the Bengals on Monday Night Football is an absolute no-go. They cannot win Monday Night Football games. It's just not something the Bengals have ever done since I've been alive, at least. They've cut or let sign elsewhere Tyson Alulu, who's their starting nose tackle, Vince Williams, who's their starting middle linebacker for the last 7 years, Mike Sealer, who's their starting left guard, and Mike Hilton, who's their slot cornerback. It looks like they're not bringing back Juju Smith-Schuster, who's been their best wide receiver for the last couple of years, even though he's an overrated scumbag. They still have no cap space to sign anybody important. They signed, I think, Cam Sutton and one of their average to below average offensive linemen. Cam Sutton's a good player, but the lineman's nobody special. They did not get J.J. Watt like everybody thought they were going to. Besides me, I knew they weren't going to get J.J. Watt. They don't have J.J. Watt money, obviously. The Cardinals do. And they're the worst team in the division this year. Like right now, as we're speaking right now, sure they could go out and they could draft somebody, they could steal somebody. As we're speaking right now, 7:47 p.m. on March 16th, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the worst team in the AFC North. Comfortably. The Ravens are a playoff team. The Browns are a playoff team. The Bengals are at least a team on the rise. The Steelers are on the decline so fast it may as well be the dragster at Cedar Point. It is hilarious to me that people still try to call them a good franchise. When's the last time they draft wide receivers well, and that's about it. When's the last time they had a free agent signing that worked out well? When's the last time they won an important game? The Steelers haven't won a playoff game since Vontaze Burfict knocked Antonio Brown's head off his shoulders. That was the last time they won a playoff game. They've lost since then to the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, and they got blown out by the Browns at home. They've lost both those games since then. Mike Tomlin, an incredibly overrated coach, it's like he's very similar to Aaron Rodgers in that he is incredibly lucky for his career narrative that he won a Super Bowl as early as he did, because he would be considered incredibly overrated. He has that one Super Bowl, and they're consistently a 10-win team, but that's really been in spite of him. He's a motivator. He's not a good coach. They haven't won anything of note since Dick LeBeau left. It's just you really hate to see what's going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, I love it. You can see the pennant hanging behind me, Joe Burrow forever. I love the fact the Steelers are going to stink for the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe forever. Maybe they'll just never be good again. Maybe Ryan Finley ruined the Pittsburgh Steelers. That would be beautiful. Talk about the NFL quarterback carousel real quick. Just recap what's going on. Big carousel moves in New Orleans as number one Drew Brees retires. Top 10 quarterback of all time. Big stat compiler, though. He's been done for 3 or 4 years. He's just been trying to compile the stats. Tom Brady's going to break almost every record besides the completion record this year. He's just going to take them all back. Breeze retires. They signed Taysom Hill to extension, which is basically nothing. And they re-signed Jameis Winston. I think if the Saints are smart, Winston's their starter next year. Maybe you draft a guy late in the draft, try to hit on a cheap guy. We already talked about Andy Dalton in Chicago. Bears fans are not allowed to complain about Andy Dalton because they're Bears fans. Tyrod Taylor to Houston. It gives them sort of a backup plan in case they trade Deshaun Watson. They have Tyrod Taylor, who's one of the preeminent, glue placeholder quarterbacks in the NFL. Jacoby Brissett today signed to go to Miami. He is now the best quarterback that Miami has because Tua Tagovailoa stinks out loud. And really the funniest and the signing that really, when you think about it, makes the most sense and is absolutely hilarious and awesome is Ryan Fitzpatrick signing with the Washington football team. It makes so much sense. They are perfect for each other. Fitzmagic is hilariously good and bad at the same time. Washington football team just needs a quarterback to make their offense watchable. You have Terry McLaurin. You have the running back, I'm blanking on his name, from Memphis I'm really, really high on. You have a draft pick to go out and get somebody, and you have a defense that's going to be really good for that defensive line at least is going to be good for a long time with Chase Young and Montez Sweat and they have 4 first round picks on their defensive line, which is incredible. It's going to wreak havoc for years to come in that division, especially if the Cowboys, Eagles, and Giants continue to have bad offensive lines. I think signing Ryan Fitzpatrick makes Washington a legit Super Bowl contender this year. I think they have enough pieces. Ron Rivera is a good coach. They have Jack Del Rio, a defensive coordinator, who has won Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator before. I really like Washington this year. I have money on them to win the Super Bowl this year. I think it can seriously happen. This could be awesome. Speaking of them as contenders this year, who are the other contenders this year? I think in the AFC, these are just 7 teams. There's 7 playoff teams. I don't know if there's going to be again this year, but these are the 7 teams that came to mind. Kansas City, obviously, Patrick Mahomes. Buffalo, obviously, Josh Allen. Baltimore, as long as Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh are there, I'll consider them contenders for the best team in the division this year. Indianapolis, I love Carson Wentz's signing with Frank Reich. I think he makes the offense dynamic. I think if they can get that left tackle to replace Costanzo, they're in great shape. Tennessee, I love Mike Vrabel. I love Derrick Henry. They just signed Bud Dupree from the Steelers, which is awesome. I think they're a contender. And the Chargers, who have signed two of the best offensive linemen in free agency this year to protect Justin Herbert. They have Keenan Allen at wide receiver. They have Joey Bosa on defense. I think the Los Angeles Chargers can make a run to the playoffs this year. As can the Miami Dolphins if Jacoby Brissett plays, because Tua Tagovailoa is awful. In the NFC, the Packers are going to be a contender as long as Aaron Rodgers is there. The Saints are going to be a contender as long as Sean Payton's there. The Buccaneers are obviously a contender. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. Everybody back. They're probably the top contender. San Francisco, as long as Kyle Shanahan's there and everybody's healthy this year, they will be a contender. I still think they have a really good chance to get Deshaun Watson or maybe even Matt Ryan if Matt Ryan becomes available. The Rams with Matt Stafford, they were just missing the quarterback. I think this is kind of that late career Matt Stafford. This is his best chance to win a Super Bowl. And I think they 100% can this year. I think they have a really good defense. And obviously, Sean McVay is a great offensive coach. This is the best quarterback he's ever coached. And Matt Stafford, I think they can make a run at it. As can the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, I think Cliff Kingsbury was working out some kinks last year. that defense, as much as I don't like J.J. Watt in terms of giving